Orthodox Sunni Muslims often claim that a masjid must have a minaret, but where in the Quran is this requirement mentioned? Nowhere. In fact, the first minaret was erected 76 years after the Prophet Muhammad's death by Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. If having a minaret were a divine requirement, Allah would have revealed it to the Prophet in the Quran. This is an example of religious innovation. Historically, minarets functioned more like lighthouses than divinely mandated structures. They served as markers for caravans, watchtowers, and navigational aids for communities. Early examples include stambas or lats erected by King Asoka in India between 250 to 232 BC, which are considered precursors to the minarets of Eastern Islam. Similar Indo-Buddhist towers in Kabul connect these ancient structures to the earliest Muslim memorial towers in Ghazni, India. Encyclopedia of Islam, Volume 3, page 227. During the Prophet Muhammad's time, he delivered sermons while leaning on a palm tree trunk. Later, a bench with 3 steps was used, representing youth, manhood, and old age, allowing the imam to choose the appropriate step based on his stage of life. Another practice that raises questions is the whispering during Sunnah Salat. Quran 17:110 instructs believers not to lower their voices excessively during prayer, yet Orthodox Sunni Muslims continue this pre-Islamic custom. Why maintain a practice explicitly corrected in the Quran? Similarly, consider the Adhan. Orthodox Sunni Muslims insist it is not music, but analyzing it reveals a musical scale. The Prophet Muhammad sanctioned the Adhan with 19 words and the Iqama with 17 words, teaching this to all his followers, Ahmad, Tirmizi, Abu Dawud, Nisai, Ibn Majah. Why, then, do they claim it is devoid of musicality when it clearly follows melodic patterns? The number 19 also appears in the Quran, specifically in 74:30, as a protection over all verses. Sunni interpretations often overlook that the feminine pronoun ha in this verse refers to ayat, verses. Quran 31:2 reinforces this. These are verses of the wise book. Why is this linguistic and structural precision ignored, when it is fundamental to understanding the Quran? Orthodox Sunni practices regarding salutations upon the Prophet Muhammad also diverge from Quranic guidance. When they say Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam after his name, they imply worship directed to him, which the Quran forbids. Quran 20:14 emphasizes that only Allah is to be worshipped. Verily, I am God, there is no God but I, so serve thou me only, and establish regular prayer for celebrating my praise. Why then do they include the Prophet's name in worship, contradicting the Quran? These examples highlight a broader pattern. Innovations and traditions have crept into practice, often replacing or obscuring what the Quran explicitly commands. Minarets, whispering in prayer, musical scales in the Adhan, and salutations upon the Prophet all raise the question, why do Orthodox Sunni Muslims adhere to these customs rather than the direct instructions of the Quran, which emphasize worship solely for Allah, proper prayer recitation, and clarity in devotional acts? Before explaining the significance of the number 19, it is essential to address the Quran's special orthography. As S. Muhammad Tufail, M.A., notes in the Quran Reader, this orthography was adopted to impart subtle shades of meaning to words and phrases unfamiliar in ordinary Arabic prose, creating a heavenly music and divine articulation that could only be expressed this way. This system was supposedly instituted to ensure the proper recitation of the Quran. Yet, when examined closely, these symbols often create more confusion than clarity. For example, the Quran prescribes assimilation rules during recitation. Certain letters cannot be pronounced as Zanula, Rinma, or Runla. Instead, their correct forms are Zala, Rima, and Ruya. The sound of nunation, n, in, un, is often dropped when followed by a letter with a tashdid, intensified doubling mark, except for vav or ya, which are partially nasalized. One must ask, if vowels and markings were added to standardize recitation, why are readers still taught to mispronounce the Quran? For example, Quran 2:5 reads in Arabic, Ulaika Hudan min Rabbihim, they are on true guidance from their Lord. Yet some recite it as, Aika Allah ir Rabbihi Hudamer, a form that departs from the original. Similarly, Quran 4:141 contains, Kana lakum fathan min Allahi, a victory from God, but recitation often becomes, Thin al fathaman, distorting the words. Another example, Alam nakan makam, were we not with you? Is read as Alam nakam makam, with the nun dropped and a shadda applied incorrectly. These distortions expose a critical issue. Although vowels and markings were intended to make the Quran universally readable, Orthodox Sunni Muslims have propagated mispronunciations globally. Indians, Africans, Europeans, Americans, Canadians, all misreading what was meant to be recited uniformly. This system not only fosters dependence on religious authorities for proper recitation but also distances followers from true Tawheed, the proclamation of God's oneness. Allegiance shifts from Allah to intermediaries, scholars, Maulanas, sheikhs, creating an environment of indirect worship, veering toward shirk, associating partners with Allah. The original purpose of the Quranic vowels was clarity, yet today, figures like Bilal Phillips or Siraj Wahhaj demonstrate a recitation riddled with mispronunciations. This exposes the orthography as an instrument of innovation, suppressing those, like the family of Amir al-Mu'minin Ali, 599 to 661 AD, who preserved the correct recitation. Amir al-Mu'minin Ali, the first male convert to Islam and a close companion of the Prophet Muhammad, memorized the Quran directly and accurately. From his childhood, he sat with the Prophet, absorbing his teachings and manner of recitation. He recognized Muhammad as the last and seal of the prophets, Quran 33:40. Muhammad is not the father of any of your men, but he is the apostle of God and the seal of the prophets, and God has full knowledge of all things. By understanding this, it becomes clear that the mispronunciations and innovations imposed by later generations detract from the original Quranic revelation and the prophetic guidance faithfully transmitted by Ali. The physical bond between Amir al-Mu'minin Ali and the Prophet Muhammad was evident. They were both descendants of Hashim, a prominent ancestor of the Quraysh tribe. Ali, the commander of the faithful, was the son of Abu Talib, the Prophet's uncle, making them cousins. Additionally, Ali was part of the Prophet's Ahlul Bayt family, alongside Fatima, Hassan, and Hussein, as referenced in Quran 33:33. Ali's devotion to the Prophet was profound, even willing to sacrifice his life to protect him. This is recorded in the Life of Muhammad, translated by A. Guillaume, Ibn Ishaq, page 222. When Abu Jahl devised a plan to have multiple clans attack and kill the Prophet, Gabriel came to warn him. In response, Ali wrapped himself in the Prophet's cloak and slept in his bed to prevent the assassination, placing his life at risk so the Prophet could escape safely. This act of courage surpasses even Abu Bakr's accompanying the Prophet to Medina after the migration, as Ali chose to stay behind and be mistaken for the Prophet, risking death in his place. The Prophet's cloak would again signify protection for his Ahlul Bayt. Upon the revelation of Quran 33:33, Surah Al-Ahzab, the Prophet covered Ali, Fatima, Hassan, and Hussein with his mantle, declaring them his Ahlul Bayt and praying to Allah to protect them from impurity. The verse instructs the Ahlul Bayt to maintain modesty, perform regular prayer and charity, and obey Allah and His Messenger, emphasizing their spiritual purity. Two notable incidents involving the Prophet's mantle highlight this significance. First, at Salama's house, the Prophet gathered Ali, Fatima, Hassan, and Hussein under his cloak, asking Allah to keep them pure. Salama requested to join, but the Prophet gently declined, affirming their unique status as his Ahlul Bayt. The second incident, reported at Aisha's house, confirms the same. When questioned, Aisha recounted seeing the Prophet gather Ali, Fatima, Hassan, and Hussein under his mantle, declaring them his Ahlul Bayt and asking Allah to protect them from impurity. When Aisha asked if she was part of this group, the Prophet replied, "You are not of my Ahlul Bayt," underscoring the special spiritual role of Ali and his family. The Prophet Muhammad used his mantle to identify exactly who Quran 3:33 was referring to. Both Salama, 601 to 685 AD, of Banu Maksum, and Aisha, 609 to 678 AD, of Banu Taim, two of the Prophet's wives, desired to be under the cloak, but they were denied. This demonstrates that the Prophet gave precedence to blood relatives over those who married into the family, highlighting why he chose Amir al-Mu'minin Ali as his rightful successor. Throughout history, similar patterns of religious manipulation occurred. Just as the Palites in Christianity and the Pharisees in Judaism centralized authority, Orthodox Sunni scholars created a system in Islam where even reading Arabic properly required their guidance, ensuring their control over interpretation. Regarding the Quran's text, it is important to distinguish between the original revelation and later modifications. When the Quran was revealed, it did not include vowels, harakat. Modern Arabic, however, does include vowels, and this affects letter counts. For instance, in Quran 96:1, the word Rabbika has one ba in the original text, but modern Arabic with a shadda counts it as two. Therefore, while counting letters for numerical miracles like the number 19 is valid in later texts with vowels, it cannot be applied to the original Quran. A similar principle applies to the name of the Mahdi, Muhammad Ahmad ibn Abdullah, 1845 to 1885 AD, of Sudan. Without vowels, his name totals 17 letters, but with the modern system including shaddas, it totals 19 letters, aligning with the numerical patterns that some attribute to divine design. Likewise, his declaration of faith, Allahu Akbar wa lillahil hamd originally contains 17 letters but reaches 19 with shaddas. The number 19 also appears in the last chapter revealed to the Prophet, Surah Al-Nasr, the chapter of the Aiders. The first verse contains 19 letters, and the entire chapter contains 19 words, demonstrating a deliberate divine structure. When Allah revealed the Qur'an, the code of 19 was embedded to prevent tampering. The Qur'an was originally revealed in Syriac Arabic, without vowels, and exists in its perfect form in heaven as part of the Al-Kitab, mother of the scripture. Gabriel instructed the Prophet to read from this heavenly text, which was then conveyed on earth in the Arabic Qur'an. As stated in Quran 43:3-4, we have made it an Arabic Qur'an so that you may understand, and indeed it is in the mother of the scripture with us, exalted, full of wisdom. This emphasizes that while humans may adapt Arabic with vowels for reading and learning, the original Qur'an was revealed in a perfect, unaltered form, safeguarded by divine design. The Qur'an states that it is in the Al-Kitab, mother of the scripture, in heaven, not identical to it. The phrase with us, ladayna, derives from the preposition laydun, meaning in possession of, emphasizing that the Al-Kitab exists with Allah and the angels, not on earth. When the Prophet Muhammad first received the revelation, he said to Gabriel, Ma ana biqari'in, I am not a reader, meaning he could not read the advanced heavenly language. Gabriel then conveyed it in Muhammad's own dialect, the Arabic of the Quraysh. This is explained in Quran 44:58, Verily, we have made this, Quran, easy in your tongue, so that perhaps they will give heed. The use of we in the Quran, for example, 12:2, 21:10, indicates Allah's involvement along with the angels, who transformed the revelation from Syriac Arabic into the Quraysh dialect. Muhammad's statement I am not a reader highlights that he was neither a poet nor formally learned in prior scriptures, which is why Gabriel adapted the message into simpler language suitable for him. The first revelation in Surah Al-Alaq, 96:1-5, shows this adaptation, with advanced poetic rhyme patterns, for example, Ra, Ka, Lam, Ram, that were difficult for the people of his time to comprehend. Even today, many Arabs struggle to pronounce these verses correctly. The imperative command Iqra, read, illustrates how Gabriel simplified the language for Muhammad, though later Arabic manuscripts introduced vowel markings that altered pronunciation. The first word of the Quran, Iqra, has been variably marked in modern Qurans, with different vowels, Faha, Kasra, Damma, or other symbols added over time. These variations, including in versions of Yusuf Ali's Quran, 1946-1989, demonstrate inconsistencies in how vowels were applied, leading to different pronunciations of the same word. For example, in some editions, the first alif has a kasra, in others, it has a faha or no vowel at all. Differences in scripts, Medina versus Persian, further altered pronunciation. Modern revisions, like those published in 1989, show the same Quran with different vowel markings, creating multiple versions of the same text. These examples underscore that the original Quran was revealed without vowels, and attempts to standardize or alter the script can result in distortions of pronunciation. Orthodox Sunni scholars often defend these changes, but the original revelation relied on the Prophet's dialect for clarity and ease of understanding. Don't they realize that by calling it a revised Quran, they are implicitly admitting that the original had errors? If the Quran had been correct from the start, no revision would have been necessary. The Quran is not like ordinary books, it is Allah's book. In 1989, a new and revised edition of Abdullah Yusuf Ali's Quran was published by a team of so-called prominent Muslim scholars. This edition altered spellings, transliterations, commentaries, and terminologies, effectively rewriting parts of the Quran. If the Quran were complete and perfect, why would it need to be rewritten? The new edition introduced updated spelling and transliterations, Arabic numerals instead of Roman numerals, revised commentary to avoid misinterpretation, identifiable juzu division markers, and 2 script options, Medina and Persian. Notice the verse highlighted by the Amana Corporation as an example, Quran 33:33, which commands the family of the Prophet Muhammad to obey Allah's laws. Yet Aisha, by her actions on the battlefield, violated this verse, using the fact that the Prophet designated only Ali, Fatima, Hassan, and Hussein as his Ahlul Bayt as her justification. Ask Orthodox Sunni Imams, why does Yusuf Ali's Quran need 2 different scripts if the Medina script is correct? The word or implies an alternative, creating 2 versions of the Quran. This duality allows for confusion and manipulation. Keep in mind that the original Quran was revealed without vowels. Later editions introduced these distortions, raising the question, did Gabriel command Muhammad to read Iqra, Akra, or Yukra? The only certainty is that Gabriel showed the Quran to the Prophet as part of the Al-Kitab, mother of the scripture, in heaven, in pure Syriac Arabic, and revealed it in the Quraysh dialect so he could understand it. Quran 44:58. The Quran itself confirms this. Quran 43:3. We have made it a Quran in Arabic that ye may understand and learn with wisdom. Quran 41:3. A Quran in Arabic, for people who understand, whereof the verses are explained in detail. Not only was the Arabic distorted in modern editions, but the translation of Iqra has also been misrepresented as recite instead of read. Hans Ware's A Dictionary of Modern Written Arabic defines Qari, from the root Qara, as reader, and Muhammad Azad notes that Iqra implies conscious understanding, not mere oral repetition. Similarly, in English, recite refers to repeating from memory, while read involves comprehension. When Gabriel conveyed the first 5 verses of Surah Al-Alaq, he did not say inform, speak, orate, proclaim, or write, he said Iqra, read, highlighting that Allah is Al-Alim, the all-knowing, one of his beautiful names and the 19th of them. By calling the Prophet illiterate, Orthodox Sunni Muslims implicitly question Allah's knowledge. If Muhammad could not read, why would Allah send Gabriel to command him to read? Even if people try to call the Prophet Muhammad a reciter, how could he recite what he could not read? To recite, one must first remember the words. Don't be misled by Orthodox Sunni claims that he was illiterate and unable to speak properly. In reality, he simply could not read the classical language in which the Quran was revealed. This is confirmed in the book of Isaiah 29:12, 732 BCE, and the book is delivered to him that is not learned, saying, read this, I pray thee, and he saith, I am not learned. I am not learned indicates that the Prophet Muhammad was not trained in prior scriptures, such as the Suhuf, Torah, Zabur, or Injil. This is why he sought guidance from Waraka ibn Nawfal, who taught him the Injil, Bilal ibn Rabah, who taught him the Torah, and Maryam, his Coptic wife, who taught him the Suhuf. When Gabriel commanded Iqra, read, the Prophet did not reply in classical Arabic, Analasta min al-Qairian, but in his own dialect, Ma ana bi Qairian. This indicated that he could not read the advanced heavenly text, which is why Gabriel recited it to him in the Quraysh dialect, the language he understood. Quran 44:58. The first revealed verse, Surah Al-Alaq 96:1, begins, Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaka proclaim. Or read, in the name of thy Lord and Cherisher, who created. At that time, readers were well versed in eloquent poetry, but the Prophet was not. By responding as he did, Muhammad showed Gabriel that he could not comprehend the Quran in its pure heavenly form. Hence, Gabriel recited it to him in his own dialect for understanding. Later, men transcribed what Muhammad recited in the Quraysh dialect. They added vowels, marks, dots, and shaddas to help pronunciation. These marks were never part of the original Quran and were added solely to guide readers. One symbol could take many forms, such as the sukun, but these do not indicate that Muhammad could not read Arabic. Rather, they show that the Quran in its original form, as part of the Al-Kitab in paradise, was in a highly eloquent Syriac Arabic that required simplification. Even today, an average uneducated Arab could not read an Arabic Quran without vowels. The Prophet's situation is similar. He spoke and wrote in the Quraysh dialect, not the ancient Syriac Arabic of the Quran as revealed in paradise. It is like asking someone today to read Shakespeare in its original early modern English. They could speak English but would struggle with the text. Similarly, the Prophet could understand the Quran only when it was conveyed in his native dialect. Today, much of the Arab world speaks a dialect of Arabic heavily influenced by other languages, including Spanish, French, and Greek. These modern dialects have strayed far from the classical Arabic of the Quran. Each Arab country has developed its own distinct version. For instance, Egyptians do not pronounce the letter Qaf, so they say alam instead of kalam, pen, yet they still pronounce Quran correctly, showing selective awareness. Saudi, Turkish, and Palestinian dialects have their own variations, while the Sudanese speak Arabic closest to classical forms. Because of these changes, most Arabs today cannot fully understand the Quran in its original classical Arabic. They rely instead on hadiths, which are written in a more accessible form, modern Standard Arabic, rather than the Quran's ancient, pure language. For many, the Quran has become as foreign as it would be to a non-Arabic speaker. Some examples of dialect distortions include Kaifa, Shalun, Shalun, Nam, Waka, A, Mata, Shanayu, Waish, Aish, Aina, Hina, Iraq, Kuwait, Gulf regions, Shay, Shi, Oman, Bu, Yemen, and Ma, Mush, Mu, Mish. These dialects bear little resemblance to classical Arabic. Arabic numerals and the script have also been altered. Numbers are often written differently, and a new script, Rika, has emerged, further changing how Arabic letters and the Quran are written. Because of these distortions, most people, including Arabs, can no longer read the Quran in its classical language. Orthodox Sunni Muslims actively maintain this state. In modern times, computerized Arabic systems like Unified Arabic have further simplified and altered the language, distancing it even more from the Quran's original form. This situation is comparable to how the original Aramaic, Syriac, or Hebrew of the Torah is no longer widely known. Many self-proclaimed Arabic teachers from Arab countries, especially in America, speak only dialects, not classical Arabic. Even works like Introduction to Arabic Studies by Imam Muhammad Armiya Newman contain spelling errors, demonstrating a lack of mastery over classical Arabic. Examples include Kaifa Halak, written incorrectly instead of Kaifa Haluk, Afan, instead of Afwan, Ramat, instead of Rama, Subhana, instead of Subhana. For anyone wishing to teach their children classical Arabic, it is crucial to choose carefully. Be cautious of institutions or teachers who claim authority but cannot accurately spell or speak classical Arabic. For instance, some masjids, such as Masjid Muhammad in Jersey City, may provide prayer calendars and educational materials, but if they cannot properly convey basic Arabic, they cannot be trusted to teach the Quran in its true language. If you are going to let anyone teach you Arabic, demand to see their credentials and insist that they teach you Arabic Fusha, the classical Arabic of the Quran. Do not accept a local dialect that only makes sense to people from their region. As a striving Muslim, your goal is to become fluent in the classical Arabic of the Quran, Allah's holy book, so that you may understand it directly and stop relying on translations like Yusuf Ali or Mir Ahmed Ali. Now, consider this: ask Orthodox Sunni Muslims why vowels and markings were added to the Quran. They will likely say it was so everyone could read and recite it the same way. But if this were truly the reason, then why do different Quran reciters today, from Turkey, Sudan, Egypt, and Saudi Arabia, still recite differently? If they claim this is due to different schools of thought, then why didn't such differences exist during the Prophet Muhammad's time? Clearly, vowels and markings were human innovations, plain and simple. Despite all of man's alterations, the divine seal of the number 19 remains in the Quran. For instance, the Tasmia, Bismi Allah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, consists of 19 letters, establishing the supreme mathematical code that protects the Quran. The word Tasmia means naming or designation and comes from Sama, meaning to name or to pronounce the name of God, Hans Ware Arabic English Dictionary. The Tasmia begins all Quranic recitations. Bismi Allah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, begin all things with the illustrious names of Allah, the Yielder, the Most Merciful. This code of 19 letters is a protective pattern Allah placed in the Quran. Math itself, an ancient Arabic concept, was the key the Prophet Muhammad used to understand the Quran. Orthodox Sunni scholars may deny this, but the supreme mathematics of 19 cannot be ignored. Consider the first chapter, Surah Al-Fatiha, chapter of the opening. If the Tasmiyah was revealed as the first verse before it, who placed it over the 4 chapters preceding Surah Al-Fatiha? And why isn't there a separate surah named Bismi Allah? This reinforces the point that the Tasmiyah was divinely significant, not just a human addition. Even inscriptions from early Islamic sites reflect this understanding. For example, in the traditional site of the Last Supper of Jesus and his disciples, an Arabic inscription reads, "Begin all things with the illustrious name of Allah, the Yielder, the Most Merciful." This demonstrates the early use of classical Arabic among devout Muslims. The Suhuf, pure pages, revealed to previous prophets also show the protective seal of 19. For instance, Prophet Adam, Book of Life, 10 pages, Prophet Seth, Book of Sin, 50 pages, Prophet Enoch, Book of Time, 30 pages, and Prophet Abraham, Book of Generation, 10 pages. Each of these texts includes the Tasmiyah and contains 19 letters, further confirming the divine mathematical protection. Even the Gospel of Revelation, Al-Injil, revealed to John in 96 AD, opens with the Tasmiyah, Bismi ar-Rab al-Khaliq al-Karim, by the illustrious name of the Sustainer, the generous Creator. The Quran itself, revealed to the Prophet Muhammad, 610 to 632 AD, also begins with the Tasmiyah, Bismi Allah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Once again, it contains 19 letters, establishing the protective mathematical code of 19. The Tasmiyah appears even in the first verse of Surah Al-Alaq, 96:1, proclaim, or read, in the name of thy Lord and Cherisher, who created. This demonstrates the continuity of the number 19 across divine scriptures and highlights the importance of understanding classical Arabic to fully grasp Allah's message. The first verse of the Gospel of Revelation also contains 19 words. This is no longer a coincidence, it demonstrates that the number 19 serves as a protective seal over the scriptures. In Revelation 1:1, revealed on the island of Patmos in 96 AD, it is written, "The revelation of the Messiah Isa, Jesus, which Allah gave to him in order to teach his servants about what must happen very quickly, and to record and send it by way of his hands through his angelic being for his servant Yohanna, John." Some Orthodox Sunni Muslim scholars have acknowledged that the Quran also carries a protective seal marked by the number 19. Ahmed Deedat of South Africa, employed by Darul Ifta in Saudi Arabia, wrote a book titled Al-Quran, The Ultimate Miracle, dedicated entirely to the number 19. First published in 1979 with 20,000 copies, circulation grew to 60,000 by 1984. He also promoted a video of the book. Deedat explained, "For a book to be from God, it must carry proof of its authenticity. Every authentic document bears the seal of its source. A Supreme Court summons or a passport has its unmistakable seal. Similarly, the Quran carries its divine seal, and that seal is the number 19. He also credited Dr. Rashad Khalifa for using computer analysis to reveal the mathematical patterns of the number 19 in the Quran in his book The Perpetual Miracle of Muhammad. Soon after, Deedat faced pressure to stop speaking publicly about the number 19 because his advocacy went against Wahhabi-aligned Orthodox Sunni authorities. The number 19 has unique properties as a prime number. It can only be divided by itself and 1, yet it shows a clear ascending pattern that other prime numbers do not. Consider the comparison with 17, another prime number. 19 times 1 equals 19, 17 times 1 equals 17, 19 times 2 equals 38, 17 times 2 equals 34, 19 times 3 equals 57, 17 times 3 equals 51, 19 times 4 equals 76, 17 times 4 equals 68, 19 times 5 equals 95, 17 times 5 equals 85, 19 times 6 equals 114, 17 times 6 equals 102, 19 times 7 equals 133, 17 times 7 equals 119, 19 times 8 equals 152, 17 times 8 equals 136, 19 times 9 equals 171, 17 times 9 equals 153, 19 times 10 equals 190, 17 times 10 equals 170, 19 times 19 equals 361, 17 times 19 equals 323. Notice how the multiples of 19 form a clear numerical progression that 17 does not replicate. The pattern is both ascending and orderly, showing a structural harmony that is absent in other primes. The numbers 1 and 9 have symbolic meaning. In Greek, 1 is alpha, the beginning, and 9 is omega, the end. The Quran, 57:3, mirrors this concept, emphasizing completeness. Classical Arabic originally had 19 letters, beginning with alif and ending with ya, with none of the dots present in modern letters. Over time, Arabic letters expanded to 33 forms, and modern texts sometimes list 15 or 17 original letters, depending on the inclusion of letters like Hamza, Nun, and Qaf. Thus, the number 19 represents the totality of creation and the divine order. 1 is the beginning and 9 is the end. This is a consistent pattern across the Quran, the Suhuf, pure pages revealed to earlier prophets, and even the Gospel of Revelation. It is both a protective seal and a mathematical signature of God, showing that the scriptures are divinely safeguarded and precisely structured. Allah's attributes Al-Awwalu, the first, the 72nd attribute, and Al-Akhiru, the last, the 73rd attribute, illustrate his eternal presence. When we examine these attributes numerically, their significance becomes clear. Al-Awwalu, 72, and Al-Akhiru, 73, reflect the essence of 19 when considered in the context of the supreme mathematics, adding the digits of Al-Awwalu, 7 plus 2 equals 9, adding the digits of Al-Akhiru, 7 plus 3 equals 10 to 1 plus 0 equals 1. The combination of the first, 1, and the last, 9, produces 19, demonstrating that all beginnings and endings are under Allah's control. As 57:3 states, He is the first and the last, the evident and the imminent, and He has full knowledge of all things. The number 19 thus represents the divine order governing creation, where everything exists between the hands of Allah. The number 19 also forms the basis of a mathematical structure resembling the binary system, which uses only 2 digits, 0 and 1. In Arabic, the number 10 can be seen as 1 connected to 0, forming a complete cycle. The cipher 0, originally called Nuqta, symbolizes completeness, and its combination with 1 forms the key to the Quran's mathematical code. The pattern formed by the multiples of 19, along with the sum of digits of each product, demonstrates a precision that cannot be replicated by chance or by any other number. This numerical system, embedded in the Quran over 1,400 years ago, foretells the eventual emergence of computing and binary systems, where the principles of 0 and 1 govern all calculations. The number 19 serves as the protective seal over the Quran, ensuring that its mathematical, linguistic, and spiritual truths remain preserved across time. The mathematical structure of the number 19 in the Quran reveals profound patterns that underscore the oneness of Allah. These patterns appear in sequences, multiples, divisions, and geometric forms. For example, the odd numbers 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and even numbers 2, 4, 6, 8 reflect inherent order, while multiples of 19, such as 38, 57, and 76, demonstrate the recurring influence of this sacred number. The square of 19, which is 361, corresponds to the total when adding chapters and verses in the Quran that emphasize Allah's singularity, Wahid. For instance, the chapters and verses 770, 3945, 4012, 4084, and 64 sum as follows: 7 plus 70 plus 39 plus 45 plus 40 plus 12 plus 40 plus 84 plus 60 plus 4 equals 146 plus 215 equals 361 equals 19 times 19. This shows that the Quran's composition aligns with the sacred number 19, reinforcing its divine protection. The Abjad numerical system further confirms this. In Abjad, each Arabic letter has a numerical value. The letters in the name Allah total 66. When we consider the attribute Al-Wahid, representing Allah's oneness, the sum is 19. Breaking this down: Vav, 6, Alif, 1, Ha, 8, Dal, 4, 6 plus 1 plus 8 plus 4 equals 19. Thus, Abjad numerology emphasizes the unique oneness of Allah, countering the concept of shirk, associating partners with Allah. The concept of 19 extends even to the word Abjad itself, which represents the first 9 letters of the Arabic alphabet. Numerically, these letters sum to 9, and adding the numerical value of the word Abjad gives 19. This pattern illustrates the divine encoding in language and letters, which Orthodox Sunni Muslims often seek to downplay because it affirms Tawheed, the absolute oneness of Allah. Suratul Alaq, the first revelation received by the Prophet Muhammad, also reflects this mathematical precision. The chapter contains 19 verses and 304 letters, 19 times 16. Its first 5 verses alone consist of 19 words. Critics who claim additional words like Bismi Rabbika or Bal Kalam alter this count are mistaken. Arabic grammar dictates that single-letter prepositions and conjunctions are inseparable from the word they govern. The number 19 also governs the Quran at a macro level. Surah 97:1, revealed in the night of power, states, "We have indeed revealed this message in the night of power." This night, the 19th of Ramadan, is central to the revelation of the Quran. Similarly, the Quran in 11:1 refers to itself as a book with verses arranged in detail by one who is wise, further demonstrating that its composition is divinely guided and mathematically precise. In all these examples, the number 19 acts as a protective seal over the Quran. It appears in verse counts, letter counts, the abjad of Allah's names, and the structure of revelations, ensuring the integrity of the text and guiding believers toward understanding the unity and perfection of Allah. The Quran, being ayatu Allah, a sign of Allah, is thus inseparable from this divine numerical code, revealing a miracle that human effort alone could never replicate. The desert Arabs, referenced in the Quran, 5570, sought to suppress knowledge of the supreme mathematics of the number 19, going so far as to eliminate those who revealed its secrets. Orthodox Sunni Muslims are largely unaware that some of their religious leaders have been influenced by these powers, who ensured that any scholar conveying enlightening truths to the masses would be silenced. Among the most notable victims of this suppression was Dr. Rashad Khalifa, 1935 to 1990, who translated the Quran into English in 1989 and incorporated it into a computer program to uncover the hidden patterns of the number 19. His research revealed that much of what is considered Hadith or Sunnah is not authentically linked to the Prophet Muhammad and, in fact, contradicts the laws of Allah as revealed in the Quran, 42:31, 55:112 to 113. This knowledge directly challenged the entrenched power and wealth of those desert Arab elites, whose loyalty often lies more with authority and influence than with the purity of Islam. Telling them that Hadith contains innovations is akin to telling a Christian that Jesus is not the ultimate divine authority. It goes against deeply held assumptions. The Quran warns against such fabrications, reminding that Allah's messengers, prophets, and angels did not speak conjectures or fabrications. 77:40-48. The word muktibina, those who deny or lie, signifies that deviation and falsehood against divine scripture have always existed. Following human-made hadith leads astray, and those complicit are warned of punishment. 50:39. Believers are instructed to obey the Prophet Muhammad only in what he received through the angel Gabriel in the Qur'an, 49:56. The revival of Tawheed, the oneness of Allah, did not end with Dr. Khalifa. Muhammad Ahmad ibn Abdullah, the Mahdi of Sudan, 1845–1885, also emphasized the number 19 as a divine code. He was the 19th Imam after the Prophet Muhammad, a direct descendant of the Prophet through Hadrat Fatima and Amir al-Mu'minin Ali. The succession of 19 Imam after Amir al-Mu'minin Ali demonstrates that leadership was carried through the Prophet's lineage, establishing continuity and authenticity. Muhammad Ahmad also expressed the number 19 in his work, the Ratib, the Unshakable, as an act of devotion to Allah. The Ratib is not a scripture but a spiritual and mystical composition that incorporates the Quran and conveys devotion. Its structure follows the divine pattern of 19. Each of the 4 chapters contains 19 sections, though the number of verses varies. Chapter 1, 50 verses, 19 sections. Chapter 2, 39 verses, 19 sections. Chapter 3, 50 verses, 19 sections. And Chapter 4, 24 verses, 19 sections. The sum of the verses across all chapters is 163, and multiplying by 19 confirms the divine pattern. 163 times 19 equals 3097, a reflection of the sacred seal of 19. This structure mirrors the numerical and mystical precision found in the Quran itself, where every word and verse can be accounted for mathematically. The Mahdi's arrangement was not intended to create a new scripture but to demonstrate continuity with previous revelations, including the pure pages revealed to Adam, Seth, Enoch, and Abraham, the 19 books of wisdom of Luqman, the Torah, Psalms, the Book of Barnabas, the Gospel of Revelation, and the Quran itself. His Ratib opens with a humble prayer, O Sustainer, I humble myself before you, begging that you reveal the secrets of your divine scriptures. I yearn to read with my heart, for I crave to understand your celestial teachings. Through the work of Dr. Rashad Khalifa and the Mahdi Muhammad Ahmad, the sacred number 19 has been reaffirmed as a protective seal over the Quran, a divine code that ensures its integrity and guides believers toward Tawheed, the ultimate oneness of Allah. The Mahdi included extensive Quranic content in the Ratib not to create a new scripture, but to make it clear that the Quran remains the Kitab, the mother of the scriptures, 43:4-1 of Allah's major revelations. He never intended anyone to believe he was a prophet. Fully aware of his role as the expected one, the Mahdi came after the Prophet Muhammad and authored the Ratib, a book of prayers and devotion, as a guide to bring people closer to Allah without being mistaken for a new scripture. Throughout the Ratib, 7 central themes dominate: Tawheed, the belief in Allah's oneness; modesty before Allah, carefully selected Quranic verses, calls granted by Prophet Muhammad and other prophets and apostles, the obligation to follow the prophets, fostering love for the Quran and seeking its guidance, and spiritual mobilization aimed at humbleness in prayer, longing for communion with Allah, and performing jihad in his way. These core principles guided the Mahdi's work and illustrated his devotion. Interestingly, Rashad Khalifa did not publicize many of these details about the Mahdi. Perhaps this was because he and his followers did not recognize the Mahdi as a guide. Regardless, the supreme mathematics of the Quran, particularly the number 19, could not have been devised by any human. Its perfection challenges any skeptic to replicate its profound uniqueness and purity. It is notable that those who reject the number 19 are predominantly non-native Arabic speakers. Orthodox Sunni critics such as Siraj Wahhaj, Bilal Phillips, Muhammad Samiullah, and Maulana Abdul Qudus Hashimi, all non-native speakers, have written pamphlets and books attempting to discredit the number 19. While they claim proficiency in Arabic, a basic knowledge of the language reveals their understanding is superficial and disconnected from the Quran itself. Even an elementary grasp of Arabic demonstrates the accuracy of the numerical patterns they challenge. For example, Bilal Phillips attacks Dr. Khalifa in the Quran's numerical miracle, hoax and heresy, questioning why the number 19 is singled out when other numbers also appear in the Quran. He cites the number 8 in Surah Al-Haqqah, 69:17, which refers to angels carrying the Lord's throne, arguing that Dr. Khalifa inconsistently uses multiples. However, Phillips' reasoning is flawed. He claims the Quran's opening statement contains 8 words divided by 2, yet the first verse of Surah Al-Alaq, 96:1, in Arabic reads, "Read. In the name of your sustainer who created all things." This verse contains 5 words, not 4, as Phillips claims. If he was including the Tasmia, Bismi Allah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, his argument still fails, because the Tasmia was not revealed until Surah Al-Fatiha, originally Al-Hamd, the 5th chapter. He also misrepresents the first complete chapter revealed, Surah Al-Muzammil, 73rd in the present Quran, which contains 20 verses and far more than 32 words. Philip's errors stem from reliance on the Omanic compilation order rather than the actual chronological order of revelation. His claims about the first 5 verses of Surah Al-Alaq are similarly incorrect. The verse contains 19 words, not 24. Philip's rejection of the number 19 leads him to fabricate his own Arabic grammar rules. For instance, the word Ilah, deities, occurs 95 times in the Quran, 19 times 5. Phillips incorrectly counts attached pronouns to claim 111 occurrences, contradicting Arabic grammar rules. The word Rajul, apostle, appears 114 times, 19 times 6, referring specifically to apostles of the Most High. Phillips improperly included the Pharaoh's messenger mentioned in 1250, inflating the count. These examples demonstrate a fundamental misunderstanding of Arabic and the Quran, reinforcing that the numerical patterns surrounding the number 19 are precise, deliberate, and divinely ordained. The Mahdi, Rashad Khalifa, and the Quran itself all point to this sacred structure, which cannot be attributed to human invention. The word Ar-Rahim, meaning the most merciful, appears in the Quran a total of 114 times, 19 times 6, when certain verses are excluded. For instance, verse 129 refers to the Prophet Muhammad rather than the sustainer, and thus it should not be counted. Even with such clarifications, the total remains 114, demonstrating the precision of the Quran's numerical structure. For over 1,400 years, the Quran has been protected by the number 19, which governs its structure and preserves its integrity. This explains why the last 2 verses, 128 and 129, of chapter 9 are considered extra. They do not conform to the mathematical code. Attempts to dispute the number 19 have largely come from individuals who are not native Arabic speakers. Muhammad Samiullah and Maulana Abdul Qudus Hashimi, both from Pakistan, attack the Quran's supreme mathematics in pamphlets such as The Truth About Computerized Miracle and Secret Numerical, 19, Code. Their arguments, however, demonstrate a misunderstanding of Arabic grammar and the Quran structure. These critics suggest conspiracies, claiming that groups like the Baha'i are attempting to take over Islam through the number 19. Ironically, the Baha'i relied only on spreading their doctrine, without scriptural evidence, while Samiullah and Hashimi manipulated Quranic text to suit their claims. For example, in Surah Al-Bayyinah, 98-6, they rearranged words to artificially make them total 19, altering grammar and meaning in the process. The original verse clearly states, "Those who reject the Torah among the people of the book and among the polytheists will be in hellfire, to dwell therein forever. They are the worst of creatures." This manipulation reveals their lack of understanding. Hashimi further challenged the number 19 by pointing to the number of angels in Surah Al-Alaq, 8 and verse 17, and claiming that the Quran's mathematical code could be based on other numbers. He also argued that phrases like Bismillah ar-Rahman or Rahim supposedly contain 19 letters due to a particular calligraphy, when in fact they contain 21. The Quran itself clarifies the purpose of this numerical seal. We, Allah and the angelic beings, made the companions of hellfire none other than the angelic beings, and their number, 19, is a means of testing for those who conceal what they know to be the truth. Those given the scripture and those with faith may increase their certainty, while those whose hearts are diseased and who conceal the truth will ask, "What is it that Allah wants us to see by this parable?" It is by the number 19 that Allah guides whom He wills and lets some go astray. None knows the host of the sustainer except He. And all of this is a reminder for mortals. 7431, translated by As-Sayyid Isa Al-Haadi Al-Mahdi, the Quran's mathematical code is infinite in scope. Unlike any other number, the number 19 appears in letters, words, and verses repeatedly and consistently, revealing a divine structure. Attempts by Orthodox Sunni critics to disprove it fail because they rely on misinterpretations, partial translations, or a lack of fluency in Arabic. These scholars often converted to Islam from other faiths and have only studied Arabic superficially. Merely studying the language for a few years does not make one an expert capable of fully understanding the Quran's linguistic and numerical miracles. The challenge is clear: no human-authored book, calculation, or argument can replicate the precision and complexity of the number 19 in the Quran. Its perfection is a testament to divine authorship and serves as a warning to those who attempt to manipulate or dismiss it. Another example of scholarly work on numerical miracles in the Quran is the book The Miracle of the Number 13, written in Arabic by an Orthodox Sunni Muslim from Sudan. The author presents his theory on the number 13, showing that ideas about numerical patterns in the Quran are not exclusive to the number 19. However, this book has never received international attention, threats, or public opposition simply because it remains untranslated. As long as these discussions stay in Arabic, the Pale Arab Orthodox Sunni establishment largely ignores them. In contrast, when a text is translated into English and challenges controversial issues, such as the number 19, shirk, associating partners with Allah, or the adoration of the Prophet Muhammad above Allah, the Orthodox Sunni establishment becomes aggressive. Their objective is to prevent marginalized communities, particularly blacks, from accessing this knowledge. They will go to extreme lengths to silence anyone who disseminates such truths. For example, El Said Nozair, an Egyptian operative linked to extremist groups, visited the Hall of Knowledge in Brooklyn, New York, on April 22, 1990, under the pretense of attending a class. He intended to assassinate me but failed due to security measures. Later, on November 5, 1990, he murdered Rabbi Meir Kahane, who was also on his target list. Nozair and his co-conspirators operate under multiple affiliations: Ikhwani Muslim, Muslim Brotherhood, Ansarul Sunnah, Al Sunnah, and Wahhabi, but they are essentially the same network. Their goal is to enforce a strict, mainstream interpretation of Islam and eliminate those who refuse to comply. This campaign of intimidation is not new. In Sudan and Egypt, the Ansar al-Sunnah sect, closely linked to Wahhabism, has long promoted puritanical doctrines while opposing local Islamic practices they deem heretical, bid'ah. As noted in Nubian Ceremonial Life, Studies in Islamic Syncretism and Cultural Change, University of California Press, American University in Cairo Press, 1978, this sect has actively sought to impose its ideology across Islamic communities. The threat is systemic. They target individuals who deviate from their interpretation of Islam and financially back hitmen to enforce their agenda. The Wahhabi network does not carry out assassinations directly, but they provide the support that enables such acts. Their aim is to suppress those working for truth, reform, and positive change in the world, just as they eliminated leaders like Anwar Sadat, who sought to better his nation. It is important to understand that the Ansarullah community is distinct from these groups. We do not follow their doctrine, we operate independently and maintain our own spiritual and social principles. Their hostility arises from our refusal to conform, not from any deviation from authentic Islam. They are devout, merciless enforcers who fail to recognize that Allah alone governs the fate of His creation. Reports of Egypt's rapid support for Saudi Arabia highlight the close alliance between these two nations. Meanwhile, consider the case of a man known as Maitreya the Christ, who claims to be the returned Messiah, the Mahdi, Jesus Christ, Krishna, the fifth Buddha, and Maitreya Buddha. In esoteric circles, he is referred to as the world teacher, whose appearance was predicted for this era. Most information about him comes from Benjamin Krem, who asserts that Maitreya appeared in July 1977 and settled in a Pakistani community in London. Photographs also show him outside Nairobi in June 1988. The question arises, should anyone be threatened or killed simply because they claim titles such as Jesus or the Mahdi? Who gives anyone the right to judge or execute based on such claims? How many people must die for a particular doctrine? Consider the outrage over Salman Rushdie, not because he insulted Allah, but because of his perceived defamation of the Prophet Muhammad. Even then, Rushdie never explicitly used the Prophet's name, highlighting the irrationality of such violence. Some extremists even assert that a Muslim cannot serve in a non-Islamic country's military, yet no Quranic verse supports this. Meanwhile, these groups sit idle as Palestinians face violence and occupation in Jerusalem. Their efforts focus narrowly on individuals, accomplishing little of lasting impact. The narrative extends to an account of a businessman, nicknamed Mahound, navigating harsh terrain in the desert. With a broad frame and light-footed agility, he traverses mountains alone, embracing a name once meant to insult but now reclaimed as a symbol of resilience. His journey symbolizes the endurance and independence of those who defy mainstream orthodox pressures. Authorities have since revealed connections between these extremist networks. A December 17, 1990, Daily News article reported that Sheikh Omar Abdelrahman, a fundamentalist Muslim linked to the 1981 assassination of Egyptian President Anwar Sadat, had been present in Brooklyn at the same mosque frequented by El Said Nozair, the assassin of Rabbi Meir Kahane. Abdelrahman, despite being on a State Department list of suspected terrorists, was able to enter the United States via Khartoum, Sudan, a visa that should not have been issued. He quietly left Masjid Farouk, raising questions about his activities and associations. This raises a larger point. Groups such as the Ansarul Sunnah and Ikhwani Muslims, operating out of Sudan, may exert significant influence over such movements. When incidents like these are examined together, it becomes evident that these are not isolated coincidences but part of a larger, coordinated network. On January 2, 1990, CNN reported that El Said Nozair was indeed connected to Masjid Farouk and associated with Sheikh Omar Abdelrahman. When reporters questioned members of the mosque, a commotion broke out. During a search of Nozair's apartment, authorities discovered a document believed to be a hit list, containing names of prominent individuals worldwide, including Minister Louis Farrakhan and myself. As Ansars, we will not tolerate such threats. If any attempt is made against our community, we are prepared to respond. Currently, black Orthodox Sunni Muslims like Siraj Wahhaj and Bilal Phillips are used to discredit our leaders. They have, directly or indirectly, aided in the deaths of influential figures such as Clarence 13X, leader of the 5% Nation, Malcolm X of the Nation of Islam, and Rashad Khalifa. Their goal is to eliminate black leadership as well as any Arab or Jewish figures who oppose them. These are simply killers, bloodthirsty individuals who misuse Islam to justify their actions. The truth I am presenting here is not meant to appease these extremists, but to alert those who still have a chance to see the truth and return to Allah before it is too late. Allah protects those who follow His guidance, and His enemies will face justice. By publicly defending Nozair, some American Negro Sunnis have exposed themselves. Their faces and mosque affiliations, Masjid Farouk, Masjid Salam, Brooklyn, New York and Jersey City, New Jersey, Masjid Taqwa, or Masjid Mu'min, are visible, effectively linking them to a killer. This demonstrates their support for murder, whether intentional or not. Regardless of Nozair's religious identity, murder is not justified. Rabbi Kahane's death was not warranted simply because he was Jewish, nor does being a Muslim give one the right to kill. Allah commands justice, not vengeance. The Quran states, "To those against whom war is made, permission is given, to fight, because they are wronged, and verily, God is most powerful for their aid." 2239, Abdullah Yusuf Ali. You often use expressions such as Kulli Sanfi Yadullah, everything is in Allah's hands, or Masha Allah, what pleases Allah, in daily life. Yet when you kill in His name, you interfere with the divine order. Nozair or those who attacked Rashad Khalifa are not Allah, they are committing sin. The Quran reminds us, never should a believer kill a believer, 492, if a man kills a believer intentionally, his recompense is hell, 493. Assassinations, terror, or acts of oppression are not sanctioned by Allah. These Egyptian extremists, the Ikhwani Muslims, and others send hitmen abroad without trusting in Allah, attempting to impose fear rather than faith. All Ansars must remain vigilant against these operatives, including those at Al-Salam Mosque in Jersey City. Allah grants permission to fight only to those who are oppressed and ensures their aid. Permission to fight is given by Allah to those who are being oppressed, and surely Allah is well able to assist them. 2239, translated by Sayyid Isa Al-Haadi Al-Mahdi. Not everyone who criticizes you is a threat. Take Rabbi Kahane, for example, who was known more for his words than actions. But some men went further and resorted to murder instead of using resources, such as the oil revenue from Saudi Arabia, to address larger issues, like supporting their Palestinian Muslim brothers against the State of Israel. Make no mistake, these are killers. They do not care about truth, justice, or right and wrong. They even question Allah's ability to execute His own plans, assuming they must intervene when someone, like Rashad Khalifa, supposedly misinterprets the Quran, or when I interpret the teachings of Al-Islam differently. Allah clearly states in the Quran, 15:9, that He is the guardian of the Quran. We have, without doubt, sent down the message, and we will assuredly guard it from corruption. Abdullah Yusuf Ali, or as translated by Sayyid Isa Al-Haadi Al-Mahdi, surely we, Allah and His angelic beings, sent down the reminder, the Quran, and surely we are its guardians. Nobody can alter Allah's words, it is protected by Allah and 19 angels. Allah will take care of His own on the last day. There is no need for human intervention. Yet these extremists act as though they are Allah, killing men like Rashad Khalifa. This is clear evidence of disbelief, for a true believer trusts Allah to execute justice. Even newspapers like the Hudson Dispatch, November 14, 1990, reported links between Nozair, Masjid al-Salam in Jersey City, and the Muslim Brotherhood, an Egyptian group known for violent actions. Be extremely cautious of any group using the term Islamic Jihad. The label does not grant divine sanction. Groups such as Ansarul Sunnah, Al Sunnah, Wahhabi, and Ikhwani Muslims invoke Islamic Jihad to justify murder. They orchestrate killings and terror worldwide, including within the United States, while legitimate groups like the Nation of Islam, the Moorish Science Temple, the 5% Nation, and Ansarullah are separate and unconnected. Those behind Islamic Jihad are responsible for the deaths of Malcolm X, Noble Drew Ali, Clarence 13X, Sheikh Daoud, and especially my father, the martyr Sayyid al-Imam al-Hadi Abdur Rahman al-Mahdi. My father's tragic and unjust death compelled me to write this book and expose the fake Orthodox Sunni Muslims and their distorted religion, Sunnism. Colonel Jafar Muhammad Numeri, in alignment with Egyptian forces, led attacks against my father and the Ansari. Historically, Egypt has opposed the Sudanese, even siding with the British against my great-grandfather, Al-Mahdi Muhammad Ahmad ibn Abdullah, 1845 to 1885 AD. In March 1970, Numeri attacked Jazir Abba with 4,000 troops and Egyptian air support. Hosni Mubarak, then a high-ranking Egyptian officer, commanded this air support, assisted by Libyan aircraft. Advanced weaponry, including rocket bombs and fighter planes, targeted the Ansar assembled at Jazir Abba. The assault lasted from Friday afternoon until Monday, when my father raised the white flag to save lives. Yet Numeri's forces continued their violent attacks on Abba Island through Thursday. Knowing that they intended to kill him, my father fled across Sudan into Ethiopia. Following the example of the Prophet Muhammad in 622 AD, he arranged protection with Emperor Haile Selassie, 1892 to 1975 AD, ensuring the safety of himself and those under his care. The route my father, as Sayyid al-Imam al-Haadi Abdur Rahman al-Mahdi, chose was unfamiliar and dangerous. He intended to meet with Ansar leaders outside Sudan, many of whom were exiled, at a camp on Al-Kurmuk mountain, about 20 kilometers, 12.4 miles, east of the city of Al-Kurmuk. Unbeknownst to him, this route had been revealed to the May regime by Haile Selassie. Yes, he betrayed my father to these Sunni Muslim assassins. While traveling, my father and his companions, Saifuddin Anaji and Muhammad Ahmad Mustafa, were intercepted roughly 13 miles from Al-Kurmuk, a village on the Ethiopian border. Police surrounded their car and ordered them out. My father was shot in the right thigh and then taken, along with his companions, to a hospital. There, he was abandoned to bleed to death. No medical assistance was provided. His body, along with those of Saifuddin Anaji and Muhammad Ahmad Mustafa, was buried in an unmarked grave, remaining hidden until 1987, when my father's remains were exhumed and reburied in the tomb of Al-Mahdi. This demonstrates the cold, merciless nature of these killers. They have no respect for human life and will eliminate anyone who challenges their distorted interpretation of Islam or dares to live by the true way of Al-Islam. I therefore call upon the young warriors of the Ansar, the Nubian nation, to stand with me against these Sunni assassins. Those who are courageous in heart will be willing to defend Al-Islam, just as the warriors of Al-Mahdi's time and the followers of the Prophet Muhammad faced seemingly insurmountable odds. Let no one deceive you. They will come to your masjid pretending solidarity, but you must reject their presence. The murder of my father, as well as other leaders like him, compelled me to write this book. We Ansar do not allow our families, bloodline, or nation to be destroyed without resistance. My father died for a cause, and I continue his mission, upholding the name and honor of our noble lineage. That, truly, is Islamic jihad, to fight in the way of Allah against the unrighteous. I, like my father, am committed to standing firm for what I believe, and I warn, if you do not act rightly, do not act at all. The Orthodox Sunni Muslims understand that once the global exposure of their orchestrated assassinations and the controversial truths revealed here becomes public, those blacks currently under their influence will question their doctrine and recognize the Arab plot to suppress black leadership. The miraculous number 19 has also drawn attention in modern events. In November 1990, CNN reported that Iraq's Minister of Information referenced Kuwait as their 19th province, highlighting recognition of this number's significance. In March 1990, 38 Muslim ulama met in Saudi Arabia under Sheikh Abdul bin Baz to discuss the Salman Rushdie controversy. They condemned both Rushdie and Rashad Khalifa and called for their deaths. Just days later, the international organization Article 19 launched a campaign defending Rushdie, citing the UN's Article 19 on freedom of expression. For those who doubt that the number 19 is divine, consider this: the Quran contains 114 chapters, 6 times 19. Suratul Alaq has 19 verses. The word Allah appears 2,698 times, 142 times 19, with the total of verses containing it adding up to 118,123, 6,217 times 19. The first pillar of faith appears in 19 chapters. The word Quran occurs 58 times, which is 3 times 19 when discounting a reference to another Quran. The Basmala appears 114 times, 6 times 19, and in Al-Quran 5:1, it contains 19 letters. Chapter 96 contains 304 letters, 16 times 19. Suratul Hamd, Fatiha, the 5th chapter revealed, begins with the Tasmia consisting of 19 letters and has 285 letters in total, 15 times 19. Suratul Kalam's first 9 verses have 38 words, 2 times 19. Suratul Muzammil's first 10 verses have 57 words, 3 times 19. 9 verses from Surah Al-Kalam and 10 from Surah Al-Muzammil sum to 19. The Prophet Muhammad was born in 570 AD, 30 times 19, the same year Surah Al-Fil, the 19th chapter of Revelation, records the year of the elephant. The Arabic word wad appears 19 times. Surah Al-An'am, chapter 55, verse 19, commands proclamation of Allah's oneness, Tawheed. These are only a few examples demonstrating the intricate, mathematically precise code of the Qur'an, proving its divine origin. Every word and letter aligns with a design beyond human calculation. Even the Adhan was protected by 19 words, ensuring any tampering would eventually be revealed.